Pro Audio Secrets, a show that helps you to find your own voice in sound.
Please don't give me a reel. I never want to listen to a demo reel in my life. I don't care. No one cares. But it's just like, I trust you. You're cool. You're nice. Come on board. My first course was like $67, and I got endless emails of people saying like, that's too expensive. How dare you? You're a scammer. Like all these big audio people who are older in the industry called me a cult leader. Like, thankfully they're all retired now and I'm still in the industry. But I've gotten jobs before purely because I posted about judo. Not literally nothing to do with audio, but they're like, oh, you're a person. I will talk to you about judo as well. Now we're friends. That happens all the time, that sort of thing. And so that goes a really, really long way. So I think just talking to people like they're people.
In this episode, I am talking with GOAT of audio education and audio director Akash Thakkar. I was on his podcast 2.5 years ago. I was waiting so long to get this conversation with him on my podcast. I can tell you this is really worth your while if you're interested in how to enter the game audio industry, how to elevate in your career, how to maybe productize your knowledge, how to think about certain things when it comes to how to attract new clients and how to think about the audio industry in general. With no further ado, let's enjoy this conversation with Akash Thakkar. Thank you very much for taking the time, Akash.
Oh, thank you for
having me. We had a
me.
conversation in your podcast already. Yes. 2 years ago, maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
For everyone who doesn't know you, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what's your current thing that you have going? What's your mission right now?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Akash Thakkar. I'm a sound designer working in games, and I've been working in games since 2012. So this makes it like almost 14 years now as a freelancer primarily. And I've worked on projects like Hyperlight Drifter, Hyperlight Breaker, Possessors, Outer Wilds, Echoes of the Eye, and a whole bunch of other stuff, focusing primarily on indie, kind of AAA, AA projects, if that's what you want to call it. And do a lot of online education as well, helping people break into the game industry, work in sound design, negotiate higher rates, all that sort of stuff that I struggled with when I was first starting out. And my kind of things that I'm working on right now, I can't say, unfortunately, but I am working on some bigger projects. So I'm very happy with that. And also focusing a lot on doing, like one-on-one calls with people who want to break into the industry, whether they be, further along in their career and they want to up their income or might even be pivoting. I recently talked to someone who's a programmer who wants to become an audio programmer in games, stuff like that. And also just finished up running a cohort of my online course that helps people with the business side of working in game audio. So lots of education focus now too, and posting daily on LinkedIn too, which is where I see your stuff on as well, Bastian, which is great.
You're basically focusing on video games and you don't do any other type of media, right?
That's right. Yeah. I did film for a very brief bit right after graduating college, but I personally didn't like it. I liked the technical side of games a lot more. But what you do, like with Foley and stuff, is magic to me. I do not like focus on that side of things. I'm more on the kind of like sound design, sitting at my desk, technical side, implementation side of things.
And do you sometimes record your own sounds for your design work?
Yeah, I do quite a bit, but not to a like Foley degree, but I will do, like odd recordings. I recorded my own blood for Hyperlight Drifter. I just bought a hydrophone recently, so I've been recording a lot of like water-based stuff lately. That's been a lot of fun. A lot of ultrasonic recordings. I'm sure you have tons of those, which has been really, really fun. So I do whenever I can, but there are times where, library pulls are also necessary for certain things.
Yeah, of course. So is there sometimes a situation when you want to record something, let's say at home, not like a field recording outside, and you feel like, I can't record that in my room. That's like just the limit of what's possible in here.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm on a project now that does require lots of water sounds. So stuff like nature stuff, and like you can't get that in my room, right? Like I can't really do much in here with stuff like that. Or animals, creatures. I can obviously use my own voice, but that's limited too. So there are times where, you have to go out in the real world and start getting stuff, or even sometimes going out and doing a lot of active listening where I'm just like, what does this work? Like, what does a dockyard sound like? I'm not even going to necessarily go for a good recording. I'm just going to go and listen and just sit there and not have like my phone or anything like that, just so I can hear all the different elements and how they play with each other. So when I do need to design those sorts of soundscapes, they
Mm.
feel right. They have all the layers, they have all the details, they have nothing too extraneous, that sort of thing.
And when you work on a game, is there sometimes the need of, okay, I need this physics object now right away to test something, and I need all the variants that I built in my system? And are you able then to record all those different kind of impacts of that object?
Good question. Yeah. So when I do have things like that, like I need this physics object right away, usually if it's that fast of a turnaround, I often won't record it right, at least for the first iteration, the first pass. I'll just go to a library and be like, all right, let's just put this in. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be perfect. Here's 10 variations or whatever it needs. Let's test it and see if it works. Even if it sucks for now, that's okay. We can just leave it in for a while. And then kind of I can record it later, or, get someone else to record it, or find a library that's better suiting. Something like that will come up later. Polish can come up. Or in some cases, sometimes the library pull that I made on the first try is like, this is fine. It's just a box. We don't need anything too crazy. Let's
Mm.
just keep it in. So sometimes time just doesn't line up to polish every single thing later.
And do you sometimes use this Strata library or the new physics library from Boom?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I use Strata a lot. I haven't used the physics library from Boom, actually. So thanks for pointing that out. I should try that out. I did hear about that. I should try it. But yeah, Strata's great. I love Strata to death. It's such a good library that has all the Reaper projects built in, so I can, see all the layers and can even remove layers, add my own, tweak it around, play with the timing of them. So yeah, it's lots of stuff is available to us now. To make sound design thankfully easier and faster, but there's also so many options now where it's like, all right, I need a box metal sound. Now here's 300,000 sounds that I have. Let's pick some good ones.
And then they have to be consistent in the
Yeah,
context of how you're going to use them, right? And
exactly.
to my understanding, this is where like the Foley side kicks in, where it's kind of getting
Yes.
interesting to have someone help you out with the sounds,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to grab like a couple of objects and create something custom that is cohesive and gets you all the necessary details like soft, medium, and hard, or
Yes.
different loops that are of the same character. And because that's very tricky, right, to get from a library all these assets that are like out of the same world.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's where people like you shine, where the consistency is very difficult to find in libraries. Even if it's the same material and same recording, often they're not consistently recorded. Like most, even the high end libraries often aren't.
Mm.
So you will be like, oh, these 3 variations are great, but the next 9 are terrible. So I only have these first 3 to work with. That happens all the time, and it's very frustrating. So yeah, the consistency is like a big part of needing to either design around or record your own stuff, go to people like you. Loops especially are very inconsistent in libraries with stuff like physics objects and stuff, of like a rock grinding against the ground or some sort of giant door opening or gears or things like that. That gets wildly inconsistent, where it's like I have one good variation and everything else just does not work. And for some reason, this first one was recorded perfectly and the rest are recorded in an airplane hangar for no good reason. And so like you see that all the time.
So what would be for you like more ideal if you had like a setup at home where you could go easily and record this specific thing? Or is it then, no, this is too much overhead for me, I don't have the time for this, I don't have the like space to store some props of all kind, so I'm gonna sort that out because I'm ahead of this and I don't need to do this myself. I can my financials allow to hire someone else. What's your like idea when you hear this?
Yeah, it depends on the project. I think more often than not, it would be the second one, where it would just be easier and faster to get someone else to help. Where it's just like, okay, just you do it. Please just send me all your recordings. It'll help me so much. Tag them. You can edit them, all that sort of good stuff. That's very helpful. So I think most times now at this point in my career, where I'm more doing lead and like senior stuff, where you don't have time to just sit there and do things all day. You have to manage, you have to talk to the team, you have to build systems and whys, whatever it may be. It's way better to get someone else to help with it, especially if you can just give a list of here's stuff, and then, a week later or whatever, you get stuff back. That's just such a satisfying feeling.
Quick one. Maybe you think you have subscribed to this channel already, but you haven't. So please check and make sure that you have subscribed, because it actually helps us to grow, maintain, and make this channel better. It would be a great free help that you could provide us. So thank you for doing so. And let's get back to the episode. Do you have access to people that record for you in a way that they are part of the team and they can iterate with you throughout a longer period? Or is it more like that you send out a list at the end and then there's like a pitch and someone gets the job and then you drag all the things that into the game?
It's more kind of an in-between, where when I do need help, I'll kind of try and catch it as early as possible and then find contractors to help with. Like, and I never do pitches or anything like that. It's always just like, I know you, you're a friend, or I trust you, you're hired. There's no pitches. Like, please don't give me a reel. I never want to listen to a demo reel like in my life. I don't care. No one cares. But it's just like, I trust you. You're cool. You're nice. Come on board. But it's mostly like that, where I'll like get people to come and go as things are needed. It's like based on demand, but not necessarily full time and not necessarily all the way at the end. It's kind of in between during the project as needed, as it comes up. Like maybe I'll need creature. There are some voice actors who do specifically creature voice acting. So I'll try and get them as early as possible to send me just stuff that I can use later on and design as the project goes. And maybe I'll contact them again because, turns out we actually have a cuter creature that we need. Can you do this? And it just kind of comes and goes like that with people who can help out in different ways.
There comes this guy to mind who gave a talk at the Airwiggles conference about creature sound design. I don't have the name, but this guy was so amazing. Like, he explained like all the details that he can come up with and how to think about these things and how to use the voice and how to not lose the voice. And then he showed all the things that he could do. It was like insane.
Ooh, cool.
Like,
I didn't
really
even see that one.
So I can send you the link, or we can put that in the comments.
Yes.
The link to that specific session of the last AirCon.
That's so cool. I would need to talk to that person because that would be very helpful to know that person.
Of course. I think he's a well-known expert, but unfortunately I don't have their name right now.
Yeah.
But this brings me to another thing that you just mentioned, because you said you don't want to listen to demo reels. You know people and you like people and you trust them, and then that's when you hire them.
Yeah.
And as you are an educator, and I think I can easily say you're the GOAT of audio educators.
Too kind.
Because you started the whole thing and you made it work for you, and I really appreciate and admire that.
Thank you.
So, like, how do we get there that people actually know us and trust us? So if it's not with our demo reel, what is the general advice that you give people, let's say on all the levels? Because it's true for me as well. I'm a senior. I'm bonding with you, let's say with podcast, and you know me now for a couple of years. I want to work in games. I have a proven track record. You see all my videos on LinkedIn, but I don't have any jobs in game audio. Like, what is advice for me, and what is the advice for someone who is maybe a bit earlier in their career?
Yeah, great, super good question. So this is to say, like, it's not that demo reels are never ever needed or anything like that. It's just that we put too much importance on them. And even though you'll see like job applications, for job, sound designer at XYZ company, link your demo reel here, that sort of thing. Like, it's like become this standard that is expected. So I'm not saying you never ever need one. I don't have one. I've been working full time for 14 years. I still don't have a reel. But yeah, amazing. I love hearing that. Hooray. For second person, that makes me happy. So a big part of it is what you just mentioned, beginner or advanced, is the bonding and the human side of things, where you actually talk to people, where you kind of are the person that you're like, oh, I need someone for Foley. Oh, Bastion. Yeah, right. I know him. Let's just hire him. Like that's a big part of it. And a big part of it is literally what you're doing so well, is like consistently showing up. Because the weird thing about people is that even if they need a Foley person or whatever, and they know you, they might just forget you exist or the person that they need exists. Like, oh, I need a Foley person. And they know you, but their brain just isn't bringing you up. So they're like, I'll think about it later. And then they just shelve it forever. And then that's that. So you kind of have to, in some way, whether it be online or offline, show up in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't necessarily mean social media. It could be just showing up to local networking events, conferences, whatever it may be, like chatting on Discords, anything like that. But having some sort of way where you show up is very helpful. And something else that is very important is making stuff that isn't stuff that your employer told you to make. So it could be something like a podcast, like what you're doing. It could be something like a tutorial series, or, oh, you made the sound effects pack, or, some people will make Reaper scripts, or, you make your own plugin in C++, something like that, or a technical sound design demo, something like that, that is beyond the standards of what people tell you to do, is immediately impressive to literally anyone. And the thing I tell people is just follow what you're interested in as well. There's some part of this that there has to be a human side of it where it's like, you love to nerd out on XYZ thing, show it off in some way, shape, or form, and people will see you for the person you are instead of just the reel and the resume and the previous credits and all that sort of stuff. I've gotten jobs before purely because I posted about judo. Not literally nothing to do with audio, but they're like, oh, you're a person. I will talk to you about judo as well. Now we're friends. That happens all the time, that sort of thing. And so that goes a really, really long way. So I think just talking to people like they're people, as opposed to hiding behind the keyboard. And I tell people the keyboard, like the typing keyboard, not the musical keyboard, is not an excuse to be boring. So that is also a big part of it. Some people will reach out to me with emails and say like, hello, sir. Like, come on, just talk to me like a person. If you've done one bit of research on me, you know not to call me sir. I'm a dummy.
Might be a cultural thing, right? I get a
it
lot
might
of
be cultural too.
I get a lot of messages from India, and
yes,
it's always like with sir.
Yes, my fellow Indians, please stop calling me sir. I'm Indian too. You don't have to. But it's very true. Cultural stuff does come into play. But one thing I'll also tell people is something that happens to me and probably happens to you is I'll get random emails here and there that say like, here's my reel and demo, here's my reel and resume, please hire me. Like, I've never talked to them. There's like literally no context between us. But I would have loved it if they just messaged me and said like, hey, what's up? I saw you talked about your dog. Your dog's cool. Like, that would be so much better to send a human real message instead of please give job. And I think that goes so much further. I'll give an example. There's a sound designer here in Seattle who's amazing. His name's Patrick Balthrop. He worked on BioShock. He's just absolutely incredible. Such a genius. And I wanted to meet with him. Really busy guy. And I just was like, kept emailing him, be like, oh, let's get coffee, blah, blah, blah. He was always really busy. No problem. Fine. But one day I saw on his website at the time, it said, it was like 2018 was the year it currently was. And it said, now booking 2021, something like that. It was like 3 years in advance. Like, oh my God, this guy's booked for, wow. So I just took a screenshot of that part of his website that said now booking 2021 or whatever the 3-year date in advance in the future was. Took that screenshot, put it into the email, and the entire email body was, how the hell did you do this? And that's when we met up. That's when I became a person who actually talked to him like a human would. That's when it was like, okay, cool. You're not just some other random guy. Like, here's someone who's talking to me like a person. Great. There's no boringness to this message. So that goes a long way too. But a very long answer to your question.
No, that's absolutely necessary. I believe. I talked to Michelle Fusari lately. She's audio director at EA for mobile, and she's also running her free community, the audio work group.
Yes.
And so she's experienced with this kind of questions as well. And she said that people are interested in like specialities, like you show that you specialize in a certain thing, that you're really interested in a specific topic and you kind of nerd into this and you're passionate about it and you have something to show about this specific thing. Like, as you said, you build like a script for Reaper, or you build this amazing tool from what's his name now again? Maybe I will recall the name later, but the guy did this script for Reaper to kind of reverse engineer show reels, that you can make like a non-linear show reel from a capture of a game scene, for example.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I thought, like, this is something
that's really cool.
You stand out when you give people access to that kind of thing, you know, because when I look at all the redesigns for game audio, then most of the stuff is just a linear redesign of something, and who's interested in that? I mean, I want to, if I could hear the same result, that someone actually used assets and put them together in Wise, and then it sounds like a linear thing, then I'm impressed, you know?
Yeah, very impressed, yeah.
So I even contacted him. Sorry that I don't know your name right now, but as being on camera, sometimes this is the case with me. I contacted him and said, look, maybe you could make a product out of this, because it would be so nice that people who want to do it, but they need your assistance, you can just charge for a little cohort or one-on-one, that you help people to get it actually done, to use your system. That brings me to this other topic that you are already so experienced in, to kind of branch out and create different revenue streams. So you're not only working as an audio director, gun for hire kind of thing. You also have your own product line of educational products like courses or cohorts and one-on-ones that people can book with you, and you give them a 2-week follow-up email support, as I just read on your website. So how do you feel about this side of our audio industry? Like, how much do you recommend people to think like that, so that they should build their own products aside from their design work and working for companies or clients? And then on the other side, how do you feel is our audio peeps invested in buying these kind of products from our fellow educators and service providers?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, yeah, in terms of multiple revenue streams, I don't necessarily think everybody needs to do it. I think it is this sort of thing where as soon as people dive into it, they realize that they're like, oh, this is an entire other job and a half to get this sort of thing going. It's so much work to get it going. If only it was like, I put a course together and then money happens. That'd be so awesome. But alas, that doesn't happen. It takes forever to build the trust with people and to have people be like, okay, I'm willing to pay for this. It takes a really, really long time, and then understand things like marketing and positioning and how you can help them and what their actual problems are, because what people say their problems aren't always what their actual problems are, and you have to speak to both. All that sort of stuff is something that needs to be kept in mind. But I think having something that you make, not even necessarily for money, but something that you make that helps people in some way, just like you said with the Reaper scripts or videos or anything like that, goes a really, really long way to keeping you more employable than someone who just applies to jobs. I think that goes a long, long way. I'll give a good example. There's a wonderful YouTuber named Venus Theory. Cameron is his real name, but Venus Theory, who's just such a fun YouTuber. He's in music, does a lot of music production. He has like 300,000 subscribers, doing very well. But he got the gig to compose music for Avowed entirely because the audio director who was looking for composers saw him on YouTube. So it wasn't a demo reel. It wasn't an interview. It wasn't an application. They're just like, oh, you seem cool. I really like your music because I watch your YouTube videos, not because I listen to your reel. Do you want the job? End of story. That was it. It wasn't a pitch. Like, he didn't have to go through an entire process. He just got the job, and he did a really good job. But the thing to keep in mind is having something that you're making in the background on the side or even as a main thing goes a very long way to making it so that you can stay full up on work. That makes a huge, huge, huge difference. And it helps you stand out, helps you people see that you're more than just a reel, more than just a resume. So that goes a long way. So you don't have to productize everything. You can, but you don't have to. But I do recommend doing something that helps your visibility in some way. So there's that. And what's the second part of your question? I'm already forgetting.
Like, what is the audio people, like our fellow audio lovers, like how do they respond to products, and what are they actually willing to pay for?
That's a good question. So for a long time, I had this struggle where I was like, man, audio people are just not willing to pay for anything. Because I struggled with that at first, because like my first course was like $67 and I got endless emails of people saying like, that's too expensive. How dare you? You're a scammer. Like all these big audio people who are older in the industry called me a cult leader. Like thankfully they're all retired now and I'm still in the industry. But so everyone got really angry at me for like daring to charge any amount for anything when I first started in like 2015. But what I noticed, what actually was the truth was it wasn't that people weren't willing to pay. It's that I wasn't speaking to their problems. So you can speak in a marketing sense you can be problem oriented or solution oriented. And most people tend to be solution oriented. So I'll give an example. Solution oriented means like, oh, okay, like you're thinking to yourself like, oh, people are really, let's say, I'll use a random example. Oh, people really don't understand Fmod or WISE or like audio implementation. So I'm going to make a course based off of audio implementation because that's a solution to their problem. But you're speaking to the solution, but most people don't even know that that is the solution to their problem. So they don't make the connection that, oh, if I join this and learn this thing inside and out, then I'm more employable and can work on more projects. They just don't make that connection. But if you speak to the actual problem of, I'm not making any money from games, but I've been working in this field for a while, and why is nobody hiring me? Then you actually start to get people who are like, oh, now I'm interested in paying for this thing because you're speaking to my actual problem. The solution you offer can be anything that you think helps, but so long as you speak to the problem, that makes a big, big difference. Now, there is a case to be made for making free stuff so that anyone can access. I think that's really important. And then also kind of realizing like, okay, not everyone's going to be willing to pay, and that's fine. And having kind of like a mountain range of prices is really important because you want some things that are accessible and some things that are more expensive. And some people are more serious and some people are less. But it's also kind of realizing that like you don't necessarily have to even cater to everybody as well. Because there are, even though we're in a niche of like game audio or Foley or whatever it may be, there are sub niches of that too. So there are like game audio people who are interested in freelancing, who are interested on building their business. That is like my sub niche. That's not everybody. That's a very, very small percentage of people in this field. Most will just say resume, reel, job. They do not care about running a business. They don't care about freelancing. They just aren't interested in that sort of thing. That's outside my niche. I don't necessarily have to cater to them. And there are other resources available to them. So it's also accepting that sort of thing too, of like, I'm going to speak to the problem. You can offer whatever solution you want that you think will help them. As long as you phrase it well and make it clear and are, honest about it helping, then that, helps people understand that it's worth paying for. But you also do have to understand that people will say, oh, I really want to work in game audio. And you can be like, well, I have this thing for you. This could help you. Most won't actually be interested, even if they say they are. So you do also have to realize like, there are sub niches within this and you aren't necessarily within that. There are other things available for you. Here you go.
That's a huge answer, man. Thank you for that. Because I'm listening as someone who asked that question to you 2.5 years ago. And you basically gave me probably the same answer. And I didn't understand a thing.
Well, that means I explained it poorly, so that's
no,
on me.
No, not at all. Because as you mentioned before, quick one. as you just heard, phrasing the solution might be not as efficient as phrasing the problem. And the problem that you might have with impact sounds that are thin, cloth movement that sounds like white noise, and in general, limited capabilities in your room, in your edit suite, and your home studio to record proper sounds in there. That is something that can be ended with just joining my mentorship, the Foley Guild, where you can learn all these things to make impact sounds work, to operate independently from Foley providers with your game audio assets, or even Foley for your cutscenes and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, feel free to DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn, or just visit my website, thefoleyguild.com, and we can see us there. And I'm really happy to mentor you in there. And there are other people that share the same passion. So let's team up, Team Foley Guild. If that's you, I'm looking forward to seeing you in there. Let's continue with the episode. This is such a huge operation to get this thing operational.
It's massive.
To understand marketing, to understand whatever systems and visibility and building trust and using all the tools that are available, or even not, or just a few of them that make sense for you, and then to know what is the product, what is the problem, and what is your solution, and how do you communicate that to the people you want to work with. I mean, that's just an insane amount of brain power to get these things right. And it takes me already 2.5 years of nonstop thinking and doing, by the way. And I'm still feeling like I'm on the verge of getting to something that I feel confident about, that this is going to be the thing for me.
Yeah.
But I have not the proven track record of something that is actually going to work as I want it to work. So there you go. I mean, all the things that you mentioned are like really in the right order and very nuanced. And thank you for that. So everyone who's interested in that should like rewind and listen to the thing that you said before I started talking like 10 times, make notes, get AI to analyze that and make a breakdown of what that actually means. And then tell the AI, okay, how could I use my talents? And then maybe you save a lot of time.
Well, thanks. One thing I will recommend to people in general is just, this is regardless of business owning or not, learn to write well. Just learn to write. That's the most powerful skill I've ever learned. I took hundreds of hours worth of writing courses, learn to write. It is so powerful. If you can write a good email, holy crap, you are the top 1%. If you can write a good DM, if you can write a good description of your YouTube video, if you can write a good title for that YouTube video, if you can write a good subject line, a good resume, a good cover letter, you are in the top 1%. And AI cannot touch you, because AI is a mediocre to decent writer. But if you're good, oh my God, you become untouchable very quickly.
Okay, so how many people are on your email list right now?
6,000.
Okay, so the growth was not that high, right? So when we called last time, it was around 5,000, right?
Yeah. So the growth isn't huge, and it doesn't have to be. Yeah, because it's a niche for sure. But when you have I have an 80% open rate, so that's ludicrous in any industry. Usually 5% is considered good. So that helps a big deal too, when you have people who are happy to be on your list as opposed to just kind of there. I'm sure we're all on all sorts of like lists for sound effects companies, and we just see their emails like, whatever.
100%. I mean, you mentioned a book last time to me about like a business kind of way of thinking of marketing and the law of attraction or something like that.
Oh man,
something you read and that opened your eyes.
I read so many. So I'm trying to think of which one it could have been. Was it writing related? Was it writing specific?
I think it was more about sales strategy and how
yes.
How to create that urge of someone that actually wants something from you.
Yes, it probably was the Win Without Pitching Manifesto, maybe. That's probably the most likely. That's one I will praise forever. Win Without Pitching Manifesto by Blair Enns, Blairenns. So good. And it talks a lot about how to make it so that instead of you being the desperate freelancer who's like, please hire me, you turn things around so they're chasing you. And it doesn't require any sale. It requires the opposite of what most people do. You don't sell. You're not trying to convince anyone. You're just very shrug worthy about the whole process. Like, you want it? Oh, you don't? Okay, I'll see you later. Anyone who sells like that does way better than anyone else. Instead of being like, here's everything I can do for you, I'm so good. No one cares. Nobody cares. But if you go into, let's say, like what's famously known as a very smarmy business, which is like a car dealership where they're trying to like get you, every sort of thing. If you go up to a car dealer and you say like, oh, I'm interested in this car, they say, like, all right, take it for a test drive. I'll see you later. You're interested. You're instantly like, wait, what? Oh my God. I can just take it for a test drive? Yeah. No worries. What if but shouldn't we negotiate? No, don't care. Instantly way more interested than someone who's like, here's every, like, oh, let me sell you, let me like push you, let me, keep following up with you every 2 hours, like nothing like that. Having the kind of opposite mentality doesn't mean you don't care, but you do have kind of an opposite mentality of things. Oh my God, it makes a massive, massive, massive difference of just like when people will be like, oh, we might be interested in hiring you in the future. Would you want to hop on a call? I'm like, oh, just let me know when you're ready to hire and we can chat. What? You're not desperately trying to follow up with me all of a sudden? You're hired. Like, this happens all the time. It's it's a very interesting mindset shift, but it's hard to do when you're desperate for work too. So when you really want work to come in, it's very hard to detach a little bit.
Yeah, especially with game audio, I feel because the iteration circles for, let's say, AAA is 5 years.
Yeah.
To hop on a train, it takes so long if you're like connecting with people, but they just started, they have their team. So it might take you 5 years of bonding until you get a shot.
Yeah, it's 100% true. 100%. Yeah, I've sent out emails before and gotten responses 3 years later. So it takes time.
Okay, so what am I doing wrong? Like, why do I not like what give me something that I can improve, because I go to conferences.
Yeah.
I have the social media going. I have a proven track record of AAA games that are even nominated for best game Foley.
Yeah.
No one is asking me for any game work. Not indie, not even free, except for like 1.5 days of work in 2.5 years.
Right. I don't think you're doing anything wrong, to be clear. I really don't. Because every time I see your stuff, I'm like, oh, cool. That's awesome. So I really don't think you're doing anything wrong, because to me, what you do is magic. It's very cool. So that's one point. But I think something that a lot of people can do, yourself included, I think, is either, I don't know. Do you speak at conferences ever? Do you speak at like Gamescom or GDC or Wiggles, whatever?
Not GDC. I tried.
Yeah, sure.
I got in touch with someone this year, but it was too late. And then for the upcoming year, there's too much Foley going on, they said, and that was too late.
Yeah,
but I talked at a couple of conferences. But not as much as I could probably.
Well, what sorts of things do you tend to talk about? Is it like Foley? Is it games you've worked on? What sort of stuff, like topics, come up?
My main topic and mission is how people can start recording their own Foley in an edit suite, home studio, or let's say game studio environment. So I want to give people the idea and the ability to build a Foley station wherever they want, basically, if the room allows it. Let's say you have a little bit of acoustic treatment and the room is relatively quiet. Then from my point of view, you can put a modular surface, decouple that from the floor with a special type of foam, use a little bit of microphone magic, and then you learn the techniques how to operate that. And then you can really be consistent with, let's say, physics objects, and you create them yourself, or you start recording your own footsteps and your cloth movement doesn't sound like white noise. So I want to give that to people, so that, for example, a studio director, when they build a new game audio facility, they think differently in a way that, okay, maybe we have one big recording room, but let's implement those little edit suites as well with a little corner and a microphone, so that every one of my audio people can record sounds at any time. So give people more recording flexibility and use Foley for that in order to be more efficient and more creative and more fun during the process of creating.
Oh, that's great. That's a super good topic. I think you can break stuff like this down. This goes for anyone listening too. Like, you explained what you did perfectly. And I think what you can do then is say, like, let's say you just talked about, like, let's say like cloth recordings without the white noise, for example. I'll use that just as a random point. But you can kind of frame it from like, you're going at it from like, oh, here's like a cool result that you get from doing all this. You can, it's creative, it's fun, which is super perfect and good. Your stuff sounds consistent. But you can go from it more from a problem-oriented point of view of like, okay, so what are the problems that people are dealing with? And you can go at it from a sound designer point of view of like, never have to deal with the white noise problem again for, you know, for less than 200 euros, like spending less than 200 euros on your setup or something like that. Like, never have to deal with X by doing Y. So that makes it a little more palatable for people, because they might be thinking, God, I just hate all the sounds that I'm recording, but their solution in their mind isn't, I need to create a Foley setup. They don't make that connection just yet. You can make that during the talk or make that during the pitch. Or it could even be the sort of thing of like, if you're talking to directors or studio directors or things like that, going at it from the point of view of like making it so that your audio teams for, you know, 1,000 euros can make any sound they want for you from home without you needing to spend any extra time or money on them. That sort of thing too, where you can kind of come at it from the angle of like, oh, you want better audio for your game? This is how you get it. This is how you can get your sound designers to do it for less than 1,000 euros, or how, whatever you want to say, like the solution is. Coming at it from that point of view can also make people pique their interest a little bit, making it so that it's more of a curious example of what it is they can do, what it is they can get from the solution of having like a more creative, fun Foley sort of setup. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So imagine a world without thin impacts.
Yeah. Perfect. You just nailed it. Yeah, literally perfect. Like, your impacts are probably sounding really thin, aren't they? And most people be, yep. So that alone is like instant. And even if you did a talk entirely about impacts from that point of view, oh my God, so much more interesting than just Foley, right? So just that alone would be very, very interesting. And you can always phrase it from a broad point of view for game developers of all sorts too, to make them more interested, because everyone watches the Foley extras at the end of a Star Wars movie, regardless of whether or not they're a sound designer or not. Everybody references like, oh, I remember watching the Star Wars Foley stuff. Everybody's seen it. So there's a broad interest in it. You just have to phrase it from that broad interest.
Yeah, very, very powerful. So do I understand you correctly that in terms of my not working as a service provider at the moment, is just a time issue, that it takes more time?
It might be a phrasing issue of
as well, yeah. So because we're talking now about my coaching and about my
sure
productizing whatever I know, but what about my I want to work on a game and provide sound?
Right. Yeah. So that is an interesting one, because I think from my point of view, I don't fully like know what the people who are hiring you in games are thinking necessarily for Foley specifically. If I knew, I'd be able to give you a better answer. But I think one big thing to find for anyone listening who's like, I want to work in games and I do this thing, is finding out the exact word for word phrases that the people who hire you are thinking to themselves, whether it be an audio director or studio director or whatever it may be. Realizing that they're not saying, I need good sound design, or I need good Foley, or I need technical sound design. Nobody's saying that to themselves. They're thinking, oh shit, I am behind schedule. Fuck. That is what they're thinking every single day. So you need to find exactly what they're saying, so that you can find, like, phrase things in that way and be like, and my Foley services help with that. Whatever it is you do, my technical sound design skills help.
For example, there was one high-profile company that approached me, and what they said was, we are looking for a Foley artist that is actually knowledgeable about game audio, because we don't want to train someone in
Nice.
understanding what we need.
Perfect.
And we want someone who is a bit more boutique because we don't want the big overhead of a big company. Because when we then have extra iteration circles or stuff that we need very short handed, then the price kind of explodes tenfold. And this is not what we want. So we want like a boutique Foley guy that we don't have to train on game audio.
Nice.
And then made the mistake in following up.
Following up is fine. You don't that's not necessarily a bad thing. But you don't necessarily want to chase projects. But what happened with that one? Like what ended up occurring there? Just nothing.
Just one reply, like, yeah, we're not ready yet. And maybe I also made the mistake and I brought up someone who the person actually knew. And I mentioned that name because I know that he's doing that as well. And I think his reputation is way higher than mine. So maybe I just went to him, and I don't know. But maybe it's also not good to mention a competitor who has more pedigree than you.
I actually do that all the time. I recommend other people who are better than me all the time.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? It's a good thing to do. Yeah, I think you did the right thing. That's like the moral good thing to do. It's just the only thing
that I could think of that I did that was apart from just being me and telling them, look, I'm interested and it sounds awesome. And I'm definitely what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing too. And I think so many people listening will be like, oh my God, that's happened to me too. Sometimes projects just disappear too. And sometimes people are window shopping where they're like, oh, we're looking for this thing. And they're not really. That happens all the time. We're like, I assume that anytime someone contacts me, it's not real until the paper's signed. I just pretend it doesn't exist because so many window shoppers are out there. And I remember I was giving a talk a while ago on like bigger studio jobs, and I was saying like sometimes a lot of audio departments will just kind of put out feelers for sound designers or whoever it may be, but don't actually want to hire them. And there's an audio director in the front row at a big AAA company who just started nodding. Just heavily like, yup, that's what we do. Like a lot of the time it's just window shopping. And I assume everybody's window shopping until the contract's signed. So it might have been not your fault. There's also a part of that that's just like sometimes just things aren't real and they just pretend they are.
I mean, at least it was a good thing that they contacted me out of
Very
nowhere.
Cool. Yes.
That means I communicated at least that I am someone who knows game audio and is a Foley artist.
Yes, and people know you enough to contact you and they trust you enough to get in touch. So that's it might turn into something years from now too. You never know.
So, okay, I learned a ton already. So thank you very much, Akash, for coaching me here. So, I mean, I was looking forward to this conversation, honestly, because
thank you.
I have so many questions and I really want to make this work because I'm so passionate about the whole educational thing and to build something that I'm a bit more independent from the things that we just mentioned, that I have to wait for people to get to me or I have to, I don't know. And you never know when a client shows up and I have trust that my provision comes from Allah. So that's not the real issue.
Right.
The thing is more like, what's my place in the world and what can I provide and like where's the way to go and who are the people that I should meet and work with. And my experience with this is crazy because I have a couple of contacts from back in the days. I was working in Berlin for more than a decade and then I went to Ubisoft, so all the film work stopped. I left Berlin and so all those contacts go dead. And then during the Ubisoft time, I wanted to have some freelance work in Foley editing because I had to pay for something very expensive, my teeth. And then I thought, okay, maybe like doing one movie at the side, can support me with that. And then I asked all my contacts and nothing came from that, let's say. And then that's one experience that I had. And another experience was when I then went freelance, I then again contacted all the people that I knew. And then from one phone call with a guy I never met in person, which was very friendly call, he managed then to get me on one project, and that had kind of a
Nice.
ripple effect where I then got a couple of clients out of this one first gig that I did for the company. And
Nice.
then they hired me for the entire year with all their kind of last minute things like, oh, we need Foley for this. Like, could you start now? And it's 2 movies. And I always
Nice.
said yes. So I had a lot of work from them. But then things change. And the next year, which was 2025, this client didn't send me one project. And then another client comes up, and we build relationship over a social media post where I was just
nice.
sharing something personal
Yeah.
about my divorce that happened maybe 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one guy just answers in my story, hang in there, been there, done that, you know? Or like, I've been there, hang in there, things will, you know, get better or whatever. And this is like one of my main clients that I work now for like 2 years now, constantly. And he sends me like really great work, nice projects, cinema stuff, great TV shows, so and also like a really cool guy. We met at a workshop in Berlin with Nina Hartstone, like a Hollywood Oscar-winning sound designer. And so the things kind of come and go, and sometimes not how you expect them to be. Or so then, for example, there's another company in Berlin that, like, let's say there are 3 big TV post-production service providers, and I was employed with one of them for 7 years, and then the 2 competitors. So 2024, I worked for one of those competitors mainly, and then this work stopped. And then in December last year, the other competitor contacted me through another re-recording mixer that I had the call with maybe a year ago.
Amazing.
You know, I called, like, I had Martin, you know, I need Foley work. Yeah, I'm working for this company, but they have their Foley people, and I don't know if I can do something for you. And then 1 year later, they call me and ask me for a job. I did the job, and that was to their liking. And now they hired me for the entire January, February, and beginning of March with like 24 Foley days.
Holy crap!
And before Christmas, or like, let's say shortly before Christmas, I just had like one project for 2024 and almost nothing that I thought like, okay, how do I pay my rent? And then and then this thing comes up with 22 Foley days, which is, I can pay rent for a couple of months then afterwards.
Right. Yeah, you're set. Yeah, you're okay. Yeah. Man, you nailed it. You never know where things are going to come from. And it's so random. But you did all the right things, and it just kind of sometimes takes a while to manifest.
Yeah, hopefully. You know, I'm really hoping to get more into the game audio thing because it's so enjoyable. You know, I did one day with an audio director who works now at Warner.
Oh, nice.
Ryan Sim. Shout out.
Oh, yes. Ryan Sim's great. Yeah.
And it was just the most pleasant thing to do because he was on a call with me on Zoom, and he shared like all the videos from the game and just posted it live into the session. And then I grabbed those videos and recorded the sounds that he needed and in the variations he told me. And I had an hour of break in between, and I don't know, we finished after, let's say, 8 hours, and I got my dream rate of 2,000 euros without any negotiation.
Nice.
And this was kind of, let's do more of that. It was really fun, you know?
Yeah, totally. Oh my God. I mean, leveraging those contacts for more stuff is the way to go. So that's perfect. You have that your foot's in the door. So yeah, I think it's just time too. It just takes forever. That's the annoying part.
But that's then what people need these days. They need the stamina and the persistency, and then everyone that I talk to who is really hiring people or owns a studio with employees, or everyone is kind of saying, we look for the people that are passionate, that are hungry, and that they're really starving for the thing, and they're really passionate. And I think that's the only way to not see this industry as toxic.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that statement?
Yeah, I would agree. There's a old book I'll reference. It's called Finite and Infinite Games, and I'll talk about what that means. But game doesn't necessarily mean video game. It just means like game of life, like kind of a broader context. But basically, this book contextualizes things as finite games, which are things that have a beginning, middle, and end, and clear winners and clear losers and clear players. Soccer is a finite game. Chess is a finite game. You know who's winning, you know who's losing, you know who's playing, you know when it's over. Infinite games are things like business, marriage, anything like that. You can't win at business, right? And you don't know who the players are. You don't know who every business person is on the planet. It never ends. You never win. You never really lose. But it's just kind of forever malleable. But the thing that people do, and this helped me a lot, is they think of infinite things like they're finite. So we treat business like it's a soccer match. Oh, I have to win. I have to do this gig. I have to get this thing. I have to finish this thing. But when we treat the infinite things like they're finite, nothing ever works out. We feel desperate, we burn out, and everything goes to hell. But when we realize with an infinite game, sometimes you're on top and sometimes you're not. And that's you just have to shrug and accept that. You're like, sometimes it sucks, sometimes it doesn't. End of story. Then you, just like you said, you can kind of survive those ups and downs. You can go through things and have that stamina to last longer. And the only way to lose an infinite game is to quit. If you quit, then you're out of the game and that's it. But you can just stick with it forever. There's a great story that Simon Sinek shares. He wrote the book Start With Why, and he was talking about finite and infinite games because he wrote his own book on it too. But he was talking to, he did a speech at Microsoft and then he did a speech at Apple. And this was when the Zune came out. So you remember the Zune? It was Microsoft's competitor to the iPod. But he did a speech at Microsoft and they're like, oh, check out our Zune, like check this thing out, look at it. And then he went to Apple and he just wanted to test them and see how they responded. So when he talked to the Apple executives, he said, I just talked to Microsoft and I checked out their Zune and it is so much better than your iPod. And the Apple executive said, I have no doubt. End of story. That was it. He wasn't like, what? How dare you? Blah, blah, blah. He's just like, yeah, probably. Yeah, they are better than us right now. Sometimes you're on top, sometimes you're not. And that's the end of it. You just stop thinking at that point. Like that is the way to kind of go about it. It's like sometimes it sucks, sometimes it doesn't. Infinite game. Let's just keep going. And it's not always easy. It feels like crap sometimes for sure. But I think that's the way to kind of keep the stamina, like you said.
So you never were interested in being employed full-time somewhere. I think I read a newsletter article about that from you, that you got like the wildest kind of job offers, but you all took them down.
I turned them all down. Yeah, because I just don't like the way many companies kind of function and work. And I like the stuff that we do, which is like very malleable and very flexible and having to do things and figure things out. And, you're on a new project, like you have 24 Foley days and then you'll be on another thing. And that's more interesting to me. So personally, that doesn't really appeal to me. Yeah.
I get it. So you have you serve your niche and you're also part of that you're also part of that niche.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Why it maybe makes you so successful in it. And you read a lot. Like from my analysis, you read a lot. You're willing to learn and implement and iterate. And you have this business mindset. So you have a lot of things and you do consistently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's maybe the things that I can notice right from our conversation right now. Do you want to share a little bit about what you're currently offering in terms of your educational services?
Yeah. So it's changing, right? Kind of changes depending on when you listen to this. But right now I'm doing one-on-one coaching. So if you want to book a one-on-one session, you can just go to my website, akashthakkar.com. And so if you are interested in working in game audio or are already working in game audio or a tangential field and want to pivot in, I can talk to you about that. And also, if you want to join any of my courses, I have 2 free ones that are always available. You can go to my website for those and join my newsletter, and you'll just get in on those right away. And then I also have a business course called Game Industry Professional, that is all about, breaking in, negotiating, finding it, like making an actual living in this industry in a way that actually pays you well, as opposed to just okay or not at all, which is what most people deal with. And also through that process, I help people with like coaching and a Slack community where we all help each other. And you can even send me things like, here's my contract, is this okay? Or here's what I'm dealing with right now, is this client insane? Stuff like that, stuff that you just can't get by watching a YouTube video. And then also, I have a course that comes out here and there. You can check my website to see if it's available, called Step-by-Step Sound Design, which teaches you more on the sound design end of things. So layering, processing, blending your sounds, that sort of stuff, to make it so that you can make the stuff that you're hearing in your head without flailing and being frustrated about it. And more stuff is coming out later this year. I'm working on an FMOD course as well for people who want to work on implementation more, but more to come on that. If you're on the newsletter, you'll find out about all this stuff, though.
Interesting. So those 2 courses, they are cohorts, right?
Yes, exactly.
And if you join one of those cohorts, you are in either the one or the other community, Slack community, let's say.
Exactly.
And then the community, is this something that you have like all lifetime access, or is it only during the course time?
Oh, good question. Yeah. So for the game industry professional one, the business one, that's lifetime. You pay once, it's not a subscription. And then you have lifetime access to it. So some people have gone on to work at Riot and Microsoft and all sorts of big companies from there, and are still in the Slack group helping other people, which is why I make it not a subscription, so that we can all help each other. And then the sound design stuff, the step-by-step sound design, that is more timed. So if if the course is 6 weeks, it lasts for 6 weeks, and I give support. I think the last time I did a cohort of step-by-step sound design, I gave over 12,000 pieces of feedback in 6 weeks. So I'm there. It's not like every other thing where it's like, the leader is sort of there and kind of teaches. Like, no. It's me all the time. And people will respond to me and be like, you responded to me on a Sunday night at 9 p.m. within an hour of me sending a message. I'm like, yes, because nobody else will. Literally nobody else on this planet will. So that's kind of the thing that I offer as well, is like actual support.
And that is then hosted on Circle?
So I do it through Slack. Mine's all through
also
Slack.
Now, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Both of your communities.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the nerd question? Like, what's the downside for Circle and the upside for Slack in that sense?
Yeah, Slack is cheaper. That's it. It's free. Like for when they're not paying a subscription, it makes it so, like, because Circle, you have to pay a subscription too, but Slack is free.
Which is significant.
So yeah, it's pretty significant. So it depends on, like, a Circle can work really well for, like paid communities, that sort of thing. That I think that's the way to go. But for something where it's more like coaching calls with community support, I'm using Slack instead.
Yeah, the good thing for you is then that you can kind of time your cohorts according to your availability.
Exactly.
With the projects and stuff, and you don't have to maintain like an ongoing membership kind of thing.
Exactly. In Slack, I can check messages daily and just respond to people. So it makes it easy.
And you have kind of the demand already, right? Through your email list and your pedigree and your reputation.
Yeah, thankfully. I'm lucky there. Yeah, people seem to be interested in the stuff, so that makes me very happy.
And what is your perspective on the supply chain of new clients? Is there enough people coming through the years that are then again and again interested in your stuff, or is there kind of a flat line and people like all the people who are on the planet willing to pay for this have already taken your course and it's kind of finite game?
That's a great question. I think it's like in interesting bursts. So I'll see like no growth for a while in terms of new people, but then all of a sudden, some years like last year, I'll just see a big burst of people who are like, I want to do this, I'm willing to pay for it. So it kind of, I don't know what causes these waves. I have no idea. I guess it's just people probably like building their careers and getting older and all that sort of stuff, or getting more advanced. But I see these interesting bursts of people who are getting more interested, and I'm seeing more than ever before. This has always happened, but more than ever, people outside of game audio. So they might be in film, post-production. Some people are just programmers who have worked at like law firms, but now they want to do like audio programming, that sort of thing.
Amazing. I had also one coachee when I did one-on-one coaching, who is a lawyer and wanted to get into game audio.
Amazing. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's very interesting to see that. Yeah.
It's also good news to me, that there's people coming, and there are people who are invested. But sometimes I feel like you said in the beginning, in your early stage, that I'm not sure if people just want to spend their money on studio monitors, microphones, plugins, and libraries, and never think about education. But I think that's the wrong way of thinking, because it's actually, I'm not communicating the problem correctly. And
like
I
the studio monitor people. Yeah, exactly. The studio monitor people communicate the problem way better than we do, where they'll say like, this will make your mixes better. It won't. It absolutely won't. But they say that, and people believe it. So we just have to be more moral than them, but still communicate the problem accurately.
And what is your take on sponsorships?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I don't do them, but when people do them, like, more power to them. That's great. I think it's a great path to getting income. Like that Venus Theory guy makes some good income from his YouTube channel, getting the occasional sponsor here and there. So yeah, I have no problem with them. I don't do them. I've done them here. Well, actually, no, I've done them like slightly here and there, where it's like a sound effects company that I already like wants me to make a video for them. Like, oh, okay, I already use your stuff. This is like barely a sponsorship. So I'll do them very rarely for stuff that I'm like already using, that's so obvious and so clear. But beyond that, I don't really do them. But anyone who does, like, go nuts. That's fantastic.
Yeah, there's this guy, Jeremy Moore, who runs a community about sponsorship, and who also has a book, Be a Sponsorship Lead Magnet or Sponsor Magnet. Having said that, thank you so much for this amazing conversation, Akash.
You're very kind. Thank you. Thanks for having
me. I was so looking forward to that, and I personally got a ton out of it. And
honored.
I might get into your business coaching, and
you can ask me questions anytime.
Last question about your sound design coaching. Like, what's the core of your attendees? Is it juniors who want to learn the basics, or already people that are well versed with audio, or even senior people joining that?
Yeah, it's the intermediate people who are in that frustrating phase of, I'm decent, but my sound just isn't hitting. They know something's missing, but it's not, they don't know what it is, and they're frustrated. It's that middle part. So they're not totally new, but they're not super advanced either.
It's also a nice group to work with.
Yes. They're super interested in getting better. Yeah.
Okay. So I wish you all the best for everything you do.
Thank you.
You're a great inspiration, not only to me. I know also like people like Sergio Ronchetti, who learned with you and now is kind of a FMOD ambassador himself.
He's amazing.
I mean, that's so great to have you here, and thanks again for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
Thank you very much for watching up until the end. I'm always thankful for everyone who does that. And if you got one thing out of this, Akash is really a master in what he's doing, and he really knows a lot about how to convey his knowledge to others. If you consider joining one of his courses, cohort-based courses, I strongly recommend do so. Maybe we see each other in there, because I'm also interested in joining. And as I already mentioned, my Foley Guild is also something that helps you with better impact sounds, with proper Foley done in your non-ideal room. If you're interested in that and up your Foley game, joining the Foley Guild is an option. Having said that, see you in one of the next videos. Thanks for watching. Peace, the Foley Teacher.